Hi friends, Adam Wood here. So originally this video was going to be about my journey to Tokyo, Japan for the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympic Games. Tomorrow is actually when I was supposed to leave for this trip. It would have been my first international long haul, first international flight, first time in an Airbus A350, first time in a class other than economy. I was super looking forward to it. But obviously because of world events, that's now been postponed 1 year. So fingers crossed that this time next year, I'm making and you're watching the video of my journey to Japan. In the meantime, I'm going to be making a trip for the first time since the pandemic began. I'll be going to Sioux Falls, South Dakota and to St. Cloud, Minnesota. So this will be the first time that I'm doing any kind of travel since the pandemic began. First time I've been out of the Des Moines metro area since last November. So really, this is a big trip for me and really an opportunity to see what does the world look like and what is travel like in this pandemic world. I know we've seen a lot of reports as to this is what it's going to look like or this is what it looks like. Well, this video is going to show you what it's actually like at 2 hotels that I'm going to be staying at. And there may be a couple other stops along the way. We'll see how this goes. But in the meantime, thanks for watching and welcome aboard. Now for this trip, I did take a ton of precautions. I got my own thermometer so I could make sure to give myself a temperature check before I entered any public places or offices. I got a couple face shields. I got a pair of goggles, the all-important face mask, and they even gave me a box of gloves. Now for this stay, I proceeded to check in using the Hilton Mobile App for both of my hotel rooms. I do this 24 hours in advance, and I've done this pretty consistently over the last few years. This is nothing new to me. I really like this because you can go in and you can see which rooms are available and choose exactly which room you want. If you want to upgrade to a more expensive room just because you like the location, it gives you the option to do that in the app itself. Now, admittedly, the digital key that you can use to open your room straight from your phone has been pretty inconsistent up until recently. I didn't find it working consistently until last year when I stayed in Greenville, South Carolina. But throughout this stay and trip, it worked very well, and I'm glad it was there. It saved the trip to the front desk for sure. Overall, I'm going to continue using this for the foreseeable future and well beyond the pandemic, and I hope you will as well. Speaking of the digital key, I've always wondered with actual plastic keys, are they truly multi-use? Are they throwaway? Are they disposable? I've been at a lot of events that had digital keys that the actual event logo was printed on the key itself. I had to think that after the event was over, they couldn't reuse those, so seems kind of wasteful to me. In addition to lowering your points of contact, a digital key just seems overall like a really good idea, and I hope to be able to continue to use those for a very long time to come. With that, the next morning, it was time for me to begin to make my way to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Now, as we're going down I-80 here, this is a good time to make this disclaimer. I do work for Gannett, which is owner of USA Today and many other newspapers across the country. And this trip was for work, but I work in the IT department. I don't work in content at all, and no one in content knew I was making this. I have literally no influence on content. I just provide the equipment so that content can produce and do the reporting. I have no control over the story at all, and this is in no way for work with this video at all. It has no influence, no one from content asked me to do it, and no one from content even knew I was doing it until, well, hopefully maybe somebody is seeing the final product right now. With that, here I am making my first trip on Interstate 880. Wait, 880? Yes. If you didn't know, in Iowa, Interstate 680 between Interstate 29 and Interstate 80 was renumbered to Interstate 880 recently. So this was my first journey on 880. Not much to show here except for the first rest stop that I stopped at here in Iowa. So let's see what an Iowa rest stop looks like. So I'm here at the Iowa rest stop on Interstate 880, which I believe is the only rest stop here on Interstate 880. And this doesn't feel any different than a rest stop did pre-pandemic. There's literally no differences here between where it was pre-pandemic and a rest stop currently. There's nothing Nothing different. No blocked off sinks, no nothing. It looks very similar. Now, this trip did feature a lot of great views. By the way, that car there, that's my 2020 Ford Escape SE. This was the first time I got to travel on a long road trip in my new car, and it was great. Great gas mileage, very nice ride. But that view is nothing compared to the scenic view offered at the next exit. Now, these pictures don't do it justice, but you can see farmland, Omaha, Council Bluffs, the next highway interchange. It's overall a great view. Not the most scenic view ever, but definitely really good by Iowa standards. So, if you're traveling east on Interstate 880 and need a little break, this is a good one for you. But before too long, it was time for me to get on I-29 and get up to Sioux Falls. Now, one more disclaimer I want to make. My management gave me the option of delaying this trip until I felt comfortable making it, even if that meant pushing it to next year. But I was ready for this trip, and I was glad to make it. This open road felt so good. Once I got to Sioux Falls, well, I won't show you what I did in Sioux Falls, but as you can see from this next photo, I took all the precautions necessary. After a long day of work, I made my way to the hotel, and there's surprisingly this advertisement.
This was my hotel room. These rooms are always big. I really like these Homewood Suites. They come with everything you need. That bed is really nice. In fact, I like those sheets so much I considered buying a set for myself at one point. But what really sets these Homewood Suites apart are these kitchens. These kitchens have a full refrigerator freezer, stovetop burners, and a dish set. They even come with a dishwasher. All they need is an oven, and you've got everything you need here. Overall, though, these have been great, especially when on the road.
So, a couple observations so far in my travel to Sioux Falls. One, social distancing is a lot less lax here. I had people going so far as offering me handshakes. That's how lax they are on social distancing here. There are still signs out, and there weren't in our businesses, like the national businesses, you can tell definitely, like there's glass over counters and things like that. But social distancing practices really laxed here. Really, nobody has a mask on unless you ask them to put one on. And when I walked in with the mask, I was basically asked, do you want me to put one on? And I didn't really make anybody. Maybe I should have, but wow, I was really surprised to see all that. So with that, I'm going to go see if I can find some dinner and see what the restaurant scene looks like.
I had to venture out for dinner as the manager's reception, a staple at these Homewood Suites, was not a thing. Usually you can get a full dinner from this, but not tonight. No idea when these will be coming back. On my way to dinner, I saw this sign, so at least somebody in Sioux Falls acknowledged the pandemic. This restaurant I went to at the recommendation of my friend Joey, and it was delicious. After this beer and Coke, which I desperately needed, I ordered their daily special, and it was wonderful. This was a good choice, and I'd recommend this place to anyone. After I got back, I decided to venture into the pool and spa. Now, I really love hotel hot tubs, and I was glad to see that this one was open. There were limits on the number of people that could be in this pool spa area at one time, but other than that, it was a normal pool spa night, and I really needed this. The next morning, to my surprise, they offered a breakfast buffet with buffet-style tongs. This was a tremendous surprise. But it wasn't long before I was on the road again, on my way to St. Cloud, Minnesota. Now, on my way to St. Cloud, Minnesota, I did make a stop in Marshall, Minnesota, and stopped at a Walmart. It was Thursday at 10 in the morning. There was some better social distancing and some better mask wearing, but there also really weren't that many people in the store for me to be able to say one way or another how good or bad Marshall, Minnesota is at social distancing. One thing though, this drive is a long drive, and I encountered a bit of a detour as well because of some construction. Not ideal, but it is what it is. And as you can see, it was a beautiful bright sunny day, and everything was green. Lots of fields with green growing corn, soybeans, or what else. Overall, these drives could be a lot worse. Eventually, I did make it to my hotel room in St. Cloud. Look familiar? Well, it should. It's the exact same hotel room, just flipped around because it being on the opposite side of the hallway. That said, this hotel room did have something that I wish more hotels had, but they don't. An actual shower. Not a bathtub shower, a shower shower. I really like this, and I wish more hotels had it. Also, this hotel room had a remote, and so did the one in Sioux Falls. I thought these were going away. Well, both rooms had it. No app for me. One place social distancing present, the pool. It was closed. No pool or spa for me in St. Cloud. Also, the front desk had one of those stickers on the floor, but no glass over the desk itself. The parking lot was empty. This hotel was as empty as I've ever seen it. Usually, this place is packed, hard to get a room at all. Not this night. Very empty. Now for dinner, I went to a restaurant called Grizzly's. They had a very nice salad and a very nice meal, but there is one thing that I noticed. The social distancing. The only people wearing masks were the waitstaff, and in fact, many of them had them pulled down below their nose and mouths and just hanging around their necks. Made me feel a little uncomfortable. Their food was good, but definitely some questions in terms of were they following social distancing and mask covering requirements in Minnesota. After dinner, I made it back to my hotel room where I got some work done. After getting work done, the next morning there was breakfast, or was there? Despite this advertisement, there was no breakfast on offer at the hotel.
Well, good morning from St. Cloud, Minnesota. It is a glorious sunny morning outside. Um, what I can tell you is there's no breakfast on offer, so it is what it is. There's no real need for me to stick around the hotel any longer. I was hoping to actually maybe sleep in a little bit this morning, but had a little bit of an IT issue that I had to deal with. So here I am, and it's time for us to hit the road once again. So I'm here at a rest stop about halfway between St. Cloud and Minneapolis on I-94. Some noticeable COVID-19 measures here. Signs indicating that the drinking fountain should not be used. Other signs talking about how between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. daily, every half hour, they're coming and disinfecting the rest stop with hospital-grade disinfectant. So definitely first noticeable things I've seen at a rest stop so far. I didn't get a chance to stop at a South Dakota one. I was in a rush and drove by my only opportunity. Sorry about that. But it definitely differences between Minnesota and Iowa for sure.
Here are some of those signs. No doubt about it, between Iowa, Minnesota, and South Dakota, Minnesota hands down wins the question in terms of which state is doing the most social distancing and most to protecting its COVID-19. Of course, these requirements aren't being followed necessarily, and things vary even from county to county. Very confusing and makes things very difficult for someone who's traveling from state to state, county to county, city to city. On the drive home, though, I did have to make a stop in Owatonna at this Baymont Suites. I didn't go inside, but this is the hotel that I basically grew up in traveling growing up. I hope someday I can stay here again soon. I did stop at the Applebee's, where they were much better at social distancing. Everyone had masks on the full time. No worries here. As I made my way home, I reflected upon this travel. It was really nice to get to travel again. I miss travel. As someone who travels quarterly, normally, or even more frequently, this was desperately needed. But I was pretty tired. I was out of the habit of traveling, and driving these long distances really took it out of me. But still, I was glad to do it. When will I travel again? Who knows? One person I know who won't mind me not traveling for a while is my cat, Sasha. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was my first one, so let me know what you think. Leave me some feedback, and I hope to be able to make more of these travel videos in the future. Thanks for watching.